Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming again. My name is John Van Valkenburg. I was born April 6th in 1832 in Ontario, Canada. My family moved to southeast Iowa in Lee County in 1846, which was the same year that Iowa became a state. Fort Madison at that time was very growing and had lots of opportunities.
My name is Catherine Van Valkenburg Waite. I was born on January 30, 1829 in Canada. Obviously, I'm the older, wiser sister. I had to move from Canada all the way to this area, traveling with two brothers. That was quite the adventure.
Our family set up a farm in Lee County, and we valued education and hard work. So I was able to save my pennies so that I could go to prep school from a man in Mount Pleasant. And then I was able to go to Oberlin College in Ohio, and I spent 1 year there before coming back to the area and attending Knox College in Galesburg, and that's where I graduated and got my bachelor's degree.
I went to Oberlin before John did. I graduated in 1853 with honors. Seems like he's always following me around like a puppy. I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and now he does too.
But before I became a lawyer, I went to the State Normal College at the university, or what is now known as University of Northern Iowa, and I was the principal there for 1 year. And after that year, I decided that becoming a lawyer, like my sister, was probably the route that I wanted to take.
I married Charles Burlingame Waite in Fort Madison in 1854. My husband was partner in a law firm called Gowdy, Waite, and Jameson in Chicago, Illinois. I was one of the first female lawyers in the entire country.
So when I decided to become a lawyer, I went to Chicago and I began working for Charles's law firm, and he mentored me to help me learn about the law, and was able to be admitted to the bar in 1857.
John lived with us in Chicago. I can't seem to get away from him. Perhaps that is why I was so motivated to form the first women's suffrage convention in Illinois.
So I was very much inspired and learned a lot living with my sister and her husband in Chicago, and became a lawyer there. And then I decided that I wanted to move back to Fort Madison. So I moved back here to Fort Madison, Iowa, and began working here as a lawyer. And then I continued that until my dying days.
Meanwhile, my husband became a judge, and we entertained many influential people of the day. I, being a lawyer, donated my legal services to women who could not afford a lawyer otherwise.
On July 3rd of 1861, I married my dear wife, Mary Jane Douglas, of the Douglas family that was one of the first families to settle here in Fort Madison. We had 3 sons.
He had 3 sons. Meanwhile, we continued to entertain friends such as Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady, and Abraham Lincoln, who was actually a very close friend of my husband Charles.
And while they were doing that, we were living here in Fort Madison at the bustling corner of Market Street and 2nd Street, known today as 8th Street and Avenue G. So as Fort Madison was growing and our family was growing, we settled down at that location.
Well, Fort Madison was catching up to Chicago. It had lots of things going on here. There were lumber mills, there were hotels, there were flour mills. We even had the Fort Madison Fire Department.
So I began getting into local politics and I was a proud member of the Republican Party here. And in 1864, I was a district presidential elector, and I proudly voted for Abraham Lincoln in the Electoral College. And then in 1874, I ran for Congress, and I lost by 1 vote.
My foray into the world of politics continued with my work in trying to earn the right for women to vote.
Perhaps one of the things that I am most proud of is working here in Fort Madison with a group of people to get the Santa Fe Bridge and the Santa Fe Railroad to come through. We negotiated with the company and secured a deal for the construction of the railroad that still passes through Fort Madison today.
Who knows? Without John's work on that committee, the bridge might have been built in Keokuk, and Fort Madison could have faded into oblivion.
I was also very active in the fraternal orders. I was a member of the Odd Fellows and was elected Grand Master of the Order of Iowa in 1880. I was a charter member of the Knights of Pythias here in Fort Madison and was first Vice Chancellor. In 1875, I was elected Grand Chancellor of Iowa and of the Knights of Pythias. In 1884, in New Orleans, I was elected the Supreme Grand Chancellor of the world. So I was the top person for the Knights of Pythias. This was erected by the Pythians of Iowa in my honor.
Besides my work as a suffragette, my husband Charles and I had 8 children, which took up a great deal of time, as you can well imagine. However, I was still involved. I became elected president of the Women's International Bar Association in 1888.
The Knights of Pythias have 3 core values: friendship, charity, and benevolence. These are principles that I strived in my life and the legacy that I left behind. I died October 15th of 1890 and am buried here at City Cemetery.
I lived to be 84 years old, and I died on November 9, 1913, and I'm buried beside my husband Charles in Rock Creek Cemetery in Washington, D.C. Thank you for coming.